Well, hey guys, welcome to Exit 45 Restorations, and so today we're going to go ahead and start the process of rebuilding my 390 for the Thunderbird. So lots of little parts, lots to do, so let's get at it because I want to get this thing running. For this build, the engine had to be bored over 30, so I ended up getting some new pistons. And I'll just go ahead and show you here what I got. First thing that I'm going to do is I want to get the pistons ready so that they're ready to go. Just prep work before I assemble the motor. So the first thing I want to do is get my rods on here. So we'll go ahead and start that process now. So before we start, let me just show you you can see there, these rods have been stamped. So I know exactly what number each one of these is, and then I'll place them with, this is number 3. So I'll place that with the number 3 piston. And I'm gonna get all of these set so I know which rod goes with which location, so we can keep all this organized and set so that I'm ready to build. Got them all placed and laid out, so let's go ahead and start putting these together. All right, so I've got my number 1, and there's my mark here. That's going to be for the facing forward on the engine, so I know that's on this side. And then on my rod, just, you know, I'm going through a manual here on this and making sure we get this right, but there's chamfers on both sides, and the larger of the chamfer is the forward side. Only on 1, 2, 3, and 4. On 5, 6, 7, and 8, it's opposite. All right, so the only thing else I'm going to do, I'm going to oil, just put a little bit of oil on the surface of all this to help it go together a little bit easier. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to get some oil on it. All right. And there we go. You can see the rod end there, and you can see the rod right there, and that we're in there. Okay, so we got all the soldiers stood up here, and we're all good. The only thing we don't have is the snap rings in, because my snap ring pliers, for whatever reason, won't fit in the little holes. So I don't know. I guess, is there another size snap ring pliers? I don't know. Either way, I will get those in, as I could get my rings put on for right now. So there's what I'm using. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at getting these on. All right. All right, guys. So I got the rings out of their package, and you can see here they tell you which ring groove that it's for here. So we got the top one here. We'll put that on the bottom. We'll do that last. And then there's number 2. And then we'll start with the number. There's 2 number 3s. So you have your oil ring, and I guess like a keeper or something. I don't know. I'm not really exactly sure what we call that ring, but so both of these rings go in the big groove up here, right there. All right, so let's get set up for that. So we'll start here. We'll go ahead and get one of these on. I have taken this over to the engine and did a gap check, and we're good. So they say between 16 and 30,000, somewhere in there. Okay, guys, so if you can see here, there's little lip right here on the inside of the ring. And when you put these together, let me see if I can get it for you here. There. You see the lips, you can see the lips, the little ledge. This ring sits on that ledge. So I'll get the first ring in on this oil ring. Just get it all the way around. Then we're just going to go down and bring that down below the oil groove, oil ring groove. Oop, nope, come on. We'll just get it set just a little bit below it. There. Now you can see that the ring is just below, just below it. Then I can come in and put this ring on. Just like that. And now I can come back and start to slide this one in. There you go. Okay, so same thing. We'll just work it around nice and easy. Nice and easy. And there you go. All right. Okay, so we're going to install the first compression ring. And you'll see right there where it says top, so that you know which way to orient this. I've already put this one on. I don't have the spreader tool for these, so you have to be very careful. So this is the top ring, and this one does not have an orientation. It does not say on either side top, so this can go either way. So when you're doing this without that tool, you really need to be very careful to just go nice and easy around it without twisting the ring. You want to expand it, but not twist it. Just work your way around. See how we're just nice and easy, not twisting it at all, just getting it over. It's getting tight. There we go. And bring it on in. There you go. Okay, so this one's done. Okay, so there we go. Got all the rings on. It all looks good. I have to get me a pair of ring pliers that will fit through these holes. I can't. The ones I have they won't go through that hole. So we're gonna move over to the camshaft. I want to do a initial fit, test fit, get it in. Let me show you what we're using. So we're using a Howard's cam. And here, I'll show you there you go, just so you guys can see the cam card if you're interested in knowing all the dimensions and profile of the cam. There you go. And I liked the cam because it gave me I looked up some of the flow numbers for the EFI heads. And it looked like I could get about another 1/4 inch or so of lift on the valves to take full advantage of the flow of the heads. So that was one of the things that drew me to this. Plus, it had the RPM range where I was really looking for it. Looked it over really good. It looks good. I don't see any real issues with it. So we're going to go ahead and start sliding this in. All right. All right, so far so good. Everything's lining up good. All right, still good. All right, so it went in good. It spins nice. Let's take a look at maybe go ahead and just leave it in there because it's, I'll put some assembly lube in it first. I'll pull this back a little bit. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm gonna get a little assembly lube on all of the journals, and we'll push it back in. Okay, so we'll torque these. Calls for 12 to 15 foot-pounds. So, okay, and I've also used a thread locker on these. And we'll just double check them. All right, there we go. Our thrust plate's in. We still turn good. All right, so we're gonna move on from there. So what I'm doing now, because we're getting ready to install the crank, but before we do that, we need to make sure that we have the correct clearances between the crank and the bearing. So what I'm doing, and I've already done these two, and they've checked out good so far, is you have to put the bearings in, torque it down, and then take your measurement, and then take your micrometer and then measure your journal here and get that. Then come over here and we'll set this anyways, just like that. And then we would come up here and zero that. And then once that's zeroed, then I can come over here and we can go inside here just like that. Anyway, you get the picture. I can get it up in there and then I can check, and it should show me the difference between the two, and then that's my clearance. So let me get this one set up and I'll show you how that goes. But then you just do all of them, and then you can just take these caps back off, and then we should be clear. As long as they all check out, we should be clear to set the crank in. And they are all done. So now I can take those end caps off and we can set the crank inside. All right, we are getting ready to put the crank in. So you can see I've got some assembly lube in there. I will spread that around. We got our oil seal in here. We're going to have it up a little bit higher on this side, a little lower on this side. And then on this one, we'll do the opposite so they fit in there. And all we're trying to do is keep from having them both meet right here at this mating flange, because that would be giving it the most opportunity to leak at that point. So if you have it like this, you're breaking up your seams. So I'm going to get this smoothed out, get some, the lube spread out. I will get some lube on the cap sides, and then I will we'll go ahead and set the crank in here, and making sure that it's not binding in any way or anything like that. So all right, there we go. Turns easy. So we're off to a good start. Okay. All right, so now what I need to do is follow the procedure for bolting this thing down and tightening it up. So we'll get started on that process. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and install the caps 1, 2, and 4 first, and get them torqued, and then we'll go and find 3 and 5. All right, so I got 1, 2, and 4 snugged down, tightened up but not torqued, and you can see we still have good good, easy movement. So we're all in the clear still. So I'm going to go ahead and torque those. Okay, so we're going to work on number 3, the thrust bearing. So we're going to put it on, we're going to snug it down, and then we're going to move the crank back and forth to set and make sure this is all set properly. And then we will check to make sure our forward-aft play is within limits. So let me get this in, and then we'll check the measurement. Okay, so we've got our end play. And we're right where we want to be. It's 6 to 12, and we're sitting at 6, so we're right in there. I'd like to find the middle if I can, but you know, this engine, once we get her going, she's going to loosen up just a little bit anyway. So being on the bottom side is not so bad. Anyway, all right. So now I can go ahead and torque number 3 down, and then we'll go ahead and work on getting number 5 in. All right, so this is the RTV silicone that I'm going to use to seal most of this engine up. A very important area that I'm going to seal up, I'm going to show you, is on the number 5 bearing cap. So let me show you what I'm going to seal up, and just wanted to make sure you knew this is what I'm using. All right, let's go ahead and put the end cap on here, and just a couple of things on it. So you want to install this seal so that the seal is protruding up a little bit on the one side. And then if you look here, it's protruding up on this side. So other than that, when you put these side seals in, you need to put something in there to hold them in place, because they're just going to push out as you push it in. So I use a little bit of the sealant that I'm using just to hold them in place while I'm putting it in. So now I guess the next thing to do is just go ahead and get some assembly lube on here. We'll put a little bit on this seal so it's not dry. And I think we're ready to put this in. And there is one more thing that you do need to do. So I got my assembly lube on the seal and the bearing. But you're going to want to seal this whole area here with some sealant as well. Okay, so you can see I got the sealant on both sides, and so this is ready to slide. It's ready to slide down in here. So, okay, excuse me. You can see it starting to go in. Get you a couple of different views. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just start tapping this down in there. Trying to make sure everything's okay. Okay. Looks like I'm going to have to tap the bottom in a little bit. It looks like it just came out a little bit. So let me get that tapped in, and then we can tap it the rest of the way down. Okay. You can see what happened there? That came up either way. It just still came up. So I got to figure out how to try and get that back down. I may have to pull this thing back out. More than likely, I'm going to have to pull it back out. I don't think I'm going to push that back down. All right, there we go. There we go. It's all down. I was able to get these to stay down in there. And everything's good. I'm going to go ahead and get the bolts in, and I'll get them torqued. Bolts are torqued, so the last thing we have to do to make sure this thing seals is drive these pins on this side of the seal and push it towards the block. We'll do that on both sides. So let's go ahead and get that. Nice and easy. You don't want to bend the pin. All right, I'm going to finish these where I can be more concentrating on this and not holding the camera. There you go. You can see I've got them driven down in there on both sides. All right, that's done. You can see we still got good rotation. Nice and easy. All right, so I'm going to start working on getting my timing set on. You can see I've already got my crank sprocket set. And if you can see, you've got different keyways that you can set these at. So you got A2 and R2. Okay, and that's advanced 2 degrees and retarded 2 degrees. I'm setting mine I'm just setting mine at 0. I'm not trying to gain any advance or anything like that. So this just slides on. What's up, buddy? Huh? Yeah? There you go. Alright. Alright, sorry for the distraction, but I've got everything installed. Nothing's torqued. I just needed to do some clearance checks. So you can see right in here, that's the bolt for the camshaft thrust plate. There's the other one over here, and they give me these extra ones that are countersunk and flush for clearance issues. So I had to make sure that when I install this, that I didn't have those bolts hitting on my sprocket. So we're tight, not torque, but we're tight. And I've already rotated this and there are no clearance issues, so that's good. I also need to make sure that the pin down here that goes into the camshaft, through the sprocket and into the camshaft, and then also into the centric or whatever they call this for the fuel pump, was the right length, because it also gives you another one depending on which one of these you're using. So there's this, which originally came off, which is a one piece, which is preferred, and then there's this kind that came with my sprocket and timing gear set and all that, and it's the 2-piece, which is supposed to be kind of garbage, but as you can see, the two-piece here has the that tab, which then you don't need this pin to go through it, because it will hold itself in there. So that's all. All of this works. So all I have to do now is I can pull this bolt, put some Loctite on there, and go ahead and get this torqued. Okay, before we jump on the pistons, I just wanted to bring you back in, let you know I did check the crank end play. So we have, I think they're looking for like 2 to 5 thousandths, and we're sitting pretty much right in there. Same with the cam. We have good end play there as well. So make sure you're checking those things, that it's not too sloppy or it's not too tight. All right. So okay, guys, we're getting ready to put our pistons in the engine. So what we need to do, we need to go ahead and get our bearings on. Just like any other bearing, you've got the little tab right here that needs to line up with the tab on your piston. So just slide that in. All right, it's in. Put some oil, and then we're going to do the same thing with the cap. Okay, there you go. Put some oil on it. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is I got some small chunks of fuel line that we want to put on here so we don't damage our cylinder walls when these things go down through there, or the crank journal that these are going to go on. We need to compress the rings. So we got to get these rings compressed so that we can get them into the cylinders. All right, I just got a ring compressor. Old school, no big deal. There we go. Then, once we got that in, start tightening it. Give you an idea what I'm doing here, but you can see there we're just tightening this, and it's going to squeeze around this and pull them rings in tight so you can knock this into the cylinder. I think we may have it, so we're going to go ahead and make sure the crank's in position, and then we'll tap this in. All right, so I've set it up so you can see the journal down there for the rods right there. So I just got it down there so that when I punch this in, I can get it to go down in there farther where I can reach down here and feel it and guide it on. We can guide it onto there. So, all right, just get it right to the bottom, and then you're good to go. All right, so make sure your forward mark is facing to the forward side of the engine. Nice and easy, slide it in. We don't want to scar up our walls. And then take it back out because you forgot to lube it. All right. Okay, we're good. And now we're not good. All right, I'm going to have to reposition and get this a little tighter, get them rings compressed. They must not have been all the way compressed. All right, let's try it again. Okay, and we'll just tap this in until we get our bearing to seat. You hear that? We're down. All right, and there you go. You can see we're on the journal, and we can remove these now. And we can install the cap. All right, there. All right, so let me get that. I can't do this with one hand. Here's our number one. It's one of the ways you know you got it in there right, because you can see the numbers on these. So you see the number one right there, and you can see the number one right there. Okay, I'll get that on there, and we'll get that one torqued, and we'll move on. All right, so we're going to make sure it's just a little bit of oil on the threads, and we'll torque these at 45 foot-pounds. There you go, 45 inch-pounds, foot-pounds, and there we go. Okay, always want to make sure that it rotates when you're done. Nothing's binding. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run through the rest of these. I'm not going to make you guys sit through that, so let me just finish this up, and we'll move on from there, all right? I also did confirm that with my timing marks, there's my 0, and there's my mark for the camshaft sprocket, and we are sitting up here at top dead center. And there you go. Got them all in. They're all pointing the right direction. That's good. I'm happy about that. There you go. So it really looks nice. All right. Let's get ready to press on for the next steps. Guys, I want to bring you back in for a real quick letting you know. So I had to put all new valves in this thing, and you can see right here how this one here is cupped. It's been, see how that one's flat? That one's been pulled. So this side here is all cupped. And I've never seen that before, and I have no idea what caused it. And if any of you guys have an idea of what causes that, because I can't figure that out, what would cause that, let me know, would you? If you have some ideas on what may have caused that. All right, so I've got this torqued. So this is all set. I'm good in this area now, so I'm going to move on to getting the cover on. And so what I've got here, I got the gasket, and I've got the plate or the cover. Let me get this out of the way here. So you can see I cleaned this up, got it painted. I got the new seal in right there, and I got the seal greased up. I'm running EFI on this engine, so I put the blocker plate on here to block off the fuel pump area, and of course the timing hash here. So this should be all ready to go. All right, so I got the sealant on there. I've got the sealant on this, and then the gasket stuck to it, so I should be able to go ahead and bolt this thing up now, and we'll get that sleeve on to make sure we keep this centered on our oil seal. Okay, so I've got this all in. The bolts are all in. You can see here it's just a little bit loose, and that's the reason for that is I installed this sleeve, and then that will get the this casing centered on that oil seal in here, so that you're not trying to shove this in and it's not centered. So now I can go ahead and tighten all these bolts all the way around, and then I can pull that sleeve out. I don't need to leave it on. I don't need to leave it in there. But okay, so I got the oil pump. We're going to go ahead and install that. Before we do, we're going to put a little oil down in here just to lubricate the gears, and just so they're not dry. You can just use your oil pump shaft here and spin it around. You hear that? There we go. We're good. Just need to get them coated with some oil, that's all. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this on the engine and start getting it all locked down. So here we go. We're going to make sure you have your gasket on here. I've already put the pickup tube on here. I got the bolts in. There's also a gasket that goes on there, so make sure that's in there. And I also put some thread locker on these, and I will put it on the bolts for here as well. Okay, so we'll torque these down. They're 23 to 28. Ow, man. I think we're good. I got it all torqued, except for I'll tighten this one down a little bit more. But other than that, we're good. No, we're not. We are not good. That's got to be in there, so let me pull this off. Okay. So this needs to slide down into the block, and there's an opening straight down. Let me see if I can show you. There you go. So you see it right there? The rod goes down into there, and then the other end goes right there. All right, so let's get this in there. Then let's All right, we're in. So I just got to re-bolt her down now. There we go. Now we're good. There you go. We're ready to put this on. Everything else looks good in here. Engine rotates nicely. So we're going to go ahead and cap off this bottom. We got her snugged down. They're just snugged. I haven't torqued them, but just wanted to bring you in real quick. I start from the middle on both sides, work my way to either end. And that's pretty standard torque practices. So I will torque these, and then this will be done, and I'm going to roll this thing over. All right, we're going to put the oil filter housing on next before we flip the engine over. Just got 4 bolts, a gasket. One of the things I was reading up on it is these only come with a hole right here, just a circle. And to cut them out along here, because the gasket material left in here, while you don't really need it to be open, because you can see there's nothing there. Excuse me. What it does, I guess, is it can be left in there, and it can get brittle and dried over time, and break away and get into your oil system. So probably not a bad idea to just do that. It's so it's not just sitting in there, not against anything. All right, so let's go ahead and get that on there. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just trim this excess gasket away from here. There we go. It's all cleaned up. All right, we're good there. Let's rotate this engine over. Looks good. Let's get this top end built. All right, guys. Well, I'm sorry about the noise. I got a rainstorm hitting me right now, but work must continue. So I got the dowel pins in place on both sides, over there and here, and I got the head gaskets on. I have chased all the threads, so they're good. I've cleaned out and wiped out every cylinder and got the gasket on. So just remember, front, and make sure that all your openings line up. Okay. And then we should be good. Your cooling passage should be at the back. And the same over here. Just make sure your dowel pins are in. And again, chased all the threads. So I've gone through all the bolts. They're all clean. So I think we're ready to go ahead and put some heads on here. All right, guys, so this is the torque pattern. There you go, that they're calling for, so we'll follow that. And then over here, they're calling for 3 consecutive torques, 70, then to 80, and then to the final 90 foot-pounds. So we'll follow that as well. We'll do 3 consecutive torques, and we'll do it in this pattern. one. Three. So next thing we need to do is we need to get our rocker arm assembly on so I can measure the length of my push rods so I can get them on order, okay? All right, so I went ahead and temporarily installed the rocker arm assembly. I've rotated till my lobe is at a flat spot, and I have inserted my adjustment rod up in here and down into here, and I've got all the zero slack out of it. I'm not putting any pressure on it, but it's not loose. And then I tightened up this to lock it in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and loosen the bolts to loosen this up so I can get this out and measure it. Okay, guys, so I got the measurement from the rod. So really, all I got to do now is I need to go in. I got to make a call, give them my measurements. They'll make my rods. They said they ship them in about a week. They got a pretty good reputation, so we'll give it a try. Anyway, I'm at a stopping point right now until I get those rods. So we'll jump back in on this as soon as I get them, all right? We're getting ready to put the intake manifold on, so we need to get our lifters in place. So let's go ahead and get those in. I'm gonna be dripping oil. I don't need to get it all over the front of the engine. All right, so we're just gonna slide these in just like this. I've already put a little bit of oil inside the bores here just to make them go in there a little bit easier. There you go. All right, so I'm gonna put the rest of these in, and then I'll bring you back in when we take the next step. All right, guys, so you can see we got all the lifters in. They're in great shape. They look good. And we've got our intake gasket on as well. We have sealed the other side with a little bit of sealant around the water jackets. And before I put the intake on finally, I will put another bead around on this side as well on all of them to make sure that we don't get any leaks there. We don't have to worry about it on the FE about gluing this down, because if you can see, it locks into the head gasket and locates this exactly where you want it. You can see how it's completely located all the way down because it locks in right here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the intake manifold over here. I'm going to do a dry fit real quick. So I just want to see what I'm working with on my lineups and all of that. Make sure that when I go to actually put my sealant across here on both sides, that we have a good plan for how to come down with that and just come down nice and straight and easy on it. So I'm going to do that real quick. Well, there it is. I've got the dry fit going on, and I'm glad I did, because I've got an issue. Again, this is aftermarket, so you can see what I'm putting on here. This is an Edelbrock Pro Flo fuel injection. And this, I got the old intake manifold had 6 of these long bolts and only 2 of the short bolts. Well, if you can see, it's opposite on this one. You got 2 long bolts and all the rest are short. So that was something I had no idea about. Test everything, especially if it's aftermarket. Enough whining about it. I got to go to the hardware store. I'm going to go pick up some bolts to put this together and we'll take 2 on this once I get back. Hey guys, I'm back out in the shop and doing a lot of dry run, with this, making sure everything's going to be right, because I'm making a big change here from a regular carbureted to this EFI, and I keep finding things that are different and that need my attention. So I'm going to run you through all of the things that I have found so far that cause me problems with this system, and I'll walk you through as I fix them what my plan is to fix them. So the first thing is there's no crankcase vent and oil fill on this port. It goes right here is where it would normally go. You can see right there, and on the other side there's a spot for it to come through, but you would have to drill through that much aluminum, and your fuel rail hookup inline here, whatever, is right in the way. So right where your oil port is supposed to go on this, you can't, because this is in the way. And even if I moved this and moved it over to this side, I still, if you kind of look down this rail is still in the way of this. So I've got another oil fill coming, and I'm going to test it and see if I can drill here and put it in here. If not, then what I'm going to do is I am going to drill me a hole on the top of the valve cover, set it down in there because I have the breather on there as well, and then weld it in here. Cut the bottom off so it's not, interfering with the valve train. But I could weld it in here. That would vent the crankcase, and it would give me an oil fill. Not my favorite choice, but I believe it's my only choice. Okay, so problem number 2 is, if you're familiar with these intake manifolds, this area right in here is cut out. So this cuts in and around here like that, and it goes all the way down. And what it does is these are reliefs for the oil drain coming off of the valve train. So this should be cut out. This area here should be cut out. This area here should be cut out. And you would leave, I don't know, a good almost inch is what's left. And right here would be cut out. And then I'll show you here on the engine why that's important, because if you look here, this is your splash shield or shield that goes on underneath the valve train, and it catches the oil, and then if you can see here, it gives it a place to pour and go back down into the engine. And if you look, I'm going to bring you up close, but you can see on this where those areas are cut out in the middle there, and you can see the ports are still there, they stick out, but there's another opening area there, and there's another opening area there. They're not. And then if you go here, you can see right here is where the port is, but I can't really, you can't do anything on this side. That's where a water jacket is. But this area is supposed to be milled up to about where that line right there is. This one should be milled up to the same spot, and so should this one. And then that gives me all my drain ports back into the lifter valley. And we talked about the other like carbureted intake manifolds have this notch out of them, in these areas. Well, according to Edelbrock, the fuel injection head is designed this way, and that oil splash shield that goes on underneath the rockers is removed. You don't use it on this. So they assure me that it is fine to go together the way it is, and that, I'm just being a baby. No, they didn't say that. But I am going to take and I'm going to port my intake openings, because you can see they are not very well ported. Look at that one. They're all over the place. This is not the best job I've ever seen. I've checked this gasket to the head and it's fine, but when you put it on here, it's terrible. So I have scarred all the way around on this, and so I am going to port these openings, and I'll do all of that on both sides, and then I'll bring you back in. There we go, guys. So I got this one ported. Looks a lot better. So that was the toughest one. That was a big area that needed to come off. The rest of these have smaller areas and they should go a lot faster. All right, 7 more to go. All right, everybody. So I've got all the porting done and it looks pretty good. All right, I got my sealant in all the right places. Got it around all my water jackets and my China wall. You can see there. So I'll be picking that up here in a second, and we'll see if we can't set that on there. And we'll move on from there. And I'll deal with the oil fill and the breather issue here on that a little later. So I have an idea how to fix that, and I'll deal with that later. So for now, we're going to get that on, and so I'll set you guys down so you can watch me put that on and sweat because I'm so nervous. I don't want to mess up my saline. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, here we go. All right, we're just going to let that sit for a minute and set a little bit before I start to torque it down. Then here in a few minutes, I'll start to torque it down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the bolts in. Also, before you torque your bolts down, make sure you have this in so it lines up, and that hole is lined up down there, and that will actually go in and lock in. So that's in and it worked. Okay, so here's our torque pattern that we'll follow, and I'll look up the torque and we'll get them torqued down, and then we're gonna let this thing be for a little bit. We'll probably just pick it back up in the morning, let that sit overnight and cure up good before I go messing with anything else. All right, I'm back out here, and so you see I've trimmed off all my excess sealant that's come out. That came out really good. Looks like it got a good seal. Same on the front. Got all that trimmed up nice. So, yeah, so I think we're ready to press on. All right, so here we are. I've got a new keyway installed, and we're just going to slide this on. We'll use the bolt to just draw it in. Should just slide right on without too much problem. So let's get the keyway lined up and see if we can't get this on. There we go. And then we'll just draw this down. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to get the 3 bolts that go on here and keep this lined up as we push this and this on the rest of the way. All right, I got my 3 bolts on. I'm going to draw that on down. All right, I think we're snug. All right. Okay, I'm going to pull this outer one back off. I just want to make sure everything under this one here is fully seated back there. So this one now will come off, just to be sure. All right, there you go. You can see we're good there. And we're good here. We're nice and seated. So I'll go ahead and put the outside pulley on there and we can wrap this up. Okay. We find the torque for this and we'll be done. Okay, we're going to go ahead and install the water pump. You can see I've got the gaskets on and a thin layer of sealant. I've got my hose already on here. That's important. That goes
Doesn't that take 2 clamps?
right there. I got 2.
Oh, you got one on there.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and slide this thing on.
Come on, start.
All right, guys, so just remember that before you put this on, you got to have that rubber hose already in there. You'll never get that hose on. So just make sure you have your clamps and everything ready to go. And you're good. So otherwise, it's pretty simple. 4 bolts. And we're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and torque this down and we'll move on from there. All right, we got all these torqued down. They torqued down really nice. And then that'll wrap up the installation of this. We still have to put our fittings in here and here for the heater hoses, but that will come later when I dress out and plumb the engine when it's in the car, so not worried about those just yet. So the next thing we're going to do after I tighten these, we're going to go ahead and put our water thermostat housing on here, and we'll wrap that up, and then we should be pretty close to at least having the front of the engine as close as I'm going to get it until we get it in the car. All right. Okay. So we got our thermostat housing all set to go. We'll put that on here, and I'm eliminating the canister or the tank that goes up here because I think it's freaking ugly. So gone with that. And I'm going to put a different radiator in this anyway. So I will go back to a more standard setup. Just never liked that big canister up there. It was ugly. Some of you may like it. That's fine. I don't like it. All right, so we got our manifold ready. We got our new gasket. And I've got an extra set of hands. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this one on. There you go. That's good, it's good. Not too much.
Gasket shit.
All right. There we go. So we're using some anti-seize on the threads of the bolt. Not sure if that stuff withstands being burned up and helps any down the future, but we're putting it on. We're also putting our anti-rotation, our back-off clip deals on. So we're going to make sure those are on just to make sure these don't back out. But all right, I'm going to get this all tightened up, and I'll show you when I'm done. There you go. Got my tabs bent down on it, and I got the same on the underside. Got my studs in. All that's good. They're all cleaned up. Everything works nicely. So let's call that done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side on. All right, we got them both on. Our studs are in. They're in good. That's all good. Everything looks really good to this point. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rocker arm assembly on here. It'll just be temporary because my rods haven't come in yet. This particular one here is your oil passage that feeds the oil up into your rocker arm assembly. And I am going to put a restrictor in here to help with two things that seem to be a problem with the FE motor. One being too much oil getting to the head. This is a common thing that I see from people, where they restrict the oil getting to the top because there's too much getting in here and it doesn't drain out fast enough, and it flings it everywhere. It also helps with your oil pressure. Apparently, these tend to have a low oil pressure, and restricting the oil up here, you're not having such a large passage for your oil coming up here, will also help your oil pressure stay up a little bit higher. So, and that just slides. That's your oil passage right there, and it just slides right in there, just like that, and it'll restrict the amount of oil that you get. That's it. So when you're putting these bolts into your rocker arm assembly to locate it, your oil passage is right here down there. And let me show you something real quick here. All right, so this is your oil passage, and you notice if you look here, see how the threads are up higher and the threads on this one are down in there. So that's where your longer bolt goes. So your long bolt goes in where your oil passage is from the block. Okay, so that's how you can tell where the long bolt goes. Anyways, I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that, and I'll button it up now. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. This one was a lot of fun. I enjoyed putting this engine together. Next video is going to be me taking this thing off and prepping it to run on an engine stand. So you'll see that here just shortly. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.